Devils Wednesday. This is the State of the Fan Address, episode 98, titled Inside the Binghamton Devils. Oh, do we have a podcast for you tonight? I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Pucks and Pitchforks blog editor-in-chief, Nick Villano, streaming live on Facebook Live, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube Live, and Twitch on the Primetime Radio Network. Nick, we've got two big guests today, like huge. Actually, make it three, Nick.
Yeah, it's a big Wednesday. It's a big Wednesday. Obviously, we have the big guest is Michael Vukojevic, the Binghamton Devils player, who he's been really good this year. He wasn't even supposed to be eligible to play for Binghamton, but because of obviously situations with the pandemic, some junior leagues aren't playing, so he was able to sign with the Devils, and he's just shown a lot. I'm excited to talk to him. Vinny Parisi's actually helped us get him. He did most of the work, actually. So I don't want to take Vinny's stardom, but he's going to come on, and we're going to, for the first time, have a special guest interviewer. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then, but before that, Neal McHale he's been covering the Devils for a couple of years, but he's been really building his brand this past year. He's been doing a lot of good things with the stats. He's been, building a base on social media. So I wanted to get him on before, we try to get these guys on, Sam, before they're too big and don't respond to emails anymore. So we got to get them while they're still in email responding status.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? Congratulations to Vinny on landing this interview. I am so proud of him, how far he's come with Pucks and Pitchforks blog. And we're growing. I mean, we're absolutely growing. Last month, we cleared over 30,000 downloads and plays. Just the audio version itself. I haven't seen the viewer numbers. And the Devils only played half of the month as well, if you think about it. So, and last night, Short Sky and I went to the game. First time fans are back almost a year. We had people come up to us from a distance and say, hey, we love the podcast, love you guys, thank you very much. We found out that PJ Ryan's is now Taj Lounge 973. It's the official bar of the Let's Go Devils podcast for all the home games. Now, we were caught off guard about it, so I'm not sure if we're going to have anybody on the ground tomorrow against the New York Rangers, but we're going to do our best and kind of soft launch it as we try to kind of steer through this pandemic. But yeah, I'm psyched about this interview and Neal McHale, Inside Hockey. Inside Hockey has been around forever. Kevin Greenstein, the founder of Inside Hockey, he and I actually go way back.
Oh, nice.
And he actually had a very pivotal part of my career, actually, because if it wasn't for Kevin, I would have never gotten the gig at XM Satellite Radio back in 2009, which I would have never learned how to do all this. So, and I'll let Neal know about that, but that's crazy. The Inside Hockey's still going strong and a very reputable website, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited to talk to him. Like I said, I've seen him interact with Devils fans very well this year, and I like talking to those kinds of people. I will say this, Sam. It's a weird night. It's been a weird night for Devils connections, for the Devils not playing at all. Obviously, Zach Parise is a healthy scratch, and that's like one of the biggest controversies in the game. Some people say he's a healthy scratch because he made a play to try to get one of his fellow players a goal, and then they missed, and then ended up losing in overtime against the Knights. I don't know if that's yesterday or Monday. But then there's also that fact that he's not playing well this year. So that's an interesting side plot that has Devils fans talking. There's this meme going out where they're asking, and this goes out like once a month, like which goalie would you want in net for a game 7? And it's the three usual suspects. It's Brodeur, Roy, and Hasek. And I'm of the ilk. I think that Brodeur had the best career of the three. But if you want to tell me for one game that you want to pick Hasek, I'll listen. That's fine. I think that's an argument. And Roy as well. But what really got me going is that they put Carey Price on this graphic. There are people who are saying that they'd have Carey Price over Brodeur. And now that's just dumb, Sam. That is idiotic.
It's ridiculous.
Like Price at his peak was not close to Brodeur's peak. And a lot of the numbers bear that out. Brodeur had more seasons, goals saved above average of 20 than Price has, and Price isn't getting back to 20 again. So I understand that people are like, well, his career is not over. He's not getting back to 20. That ship has sailed. He also Brodeur's best adjusted goals against average is more than a third of a goal per game better than Price. So he's basically stopping. But his talent alone is stopping a goal every 3 games more than Price at his best. So I'm not here for that slander. Like I said, I'll listen to Roy. I will listen to Hasek. I'll make arguments on the opposite side. But this whole Brodeur had a good defense crap. That's a crap argument. Like, he won 2 Vezinas after Stevens and Niedermeyer left. He was still playing 75 to 77 games a year with monster stats. He was in the Hart Trophy conversation some of those years. Like, don't give me this. He only won because he had a good defense. Like, everybody left. They were still a perennial playoff team and a contender every year. And he went to the Cup Finals in 2012 with Volchenkov and Harold playing big minutes.
Yeah, and you know what? You can make the argument that maybe Brodeur was the best goaltender with that system many years ago.
Yeah.
And
his athleticism, his ability to play the puck, his ability to pass a breakout.
I mean, even that system is difficult to play. You know why? Because look, if there were times where Brodeur wouldn't see a shot for 12 minutes, and suddenly a barrage would come at him 4 in a row. If the team picks up the opposing team picks up the power play, and then suddenly Brodeur is now peppered with shots. I mean, to stay mentally focused throughout 60 minutes, even with that system, not facing many shots. But what people don't realize was, and there's no stat, maybe there is a stat analytics-wise to prove this, but Brodeur was great at gobbling up the puck after the first shot. He never gave up rebounds. Well, I shouldn't say never. He hardly ever gave up juicy rebounds. He controlled that puck very well. If you shoot on Brodeur, it's one and done. When you look at Corey Schneider, there could be four subsequent plays, 4 shots in a row because he didn't stop the first one. And it's not a knock on Corey Schneider. I mean, some goaltenders are very good at gobbling it up, and also the skill of playing the puck and knowing that the trapezoid behind the net was really because of Brodeur, who revolutionized, stick handling goalies. He took it to a whole new level. And I'm not even talking about scoring goals. I'm talking about just taking the offense out of the play single-handedly just by playing the puck. But I do think Carey Price is a pretty nice guy. We all remember him and that viral video of that young boy, Habs fan, who lost his mother and promised him that before she passes away that he would get to see Carey Price, and that whole viral video that went out, and then the NHL awards and all that. I think Carey Price is a good ambassador to the game, but say he's better than Brodeur. Come on now.
Yeah. Carey Price was great. He was great for a short amount of time, but he's nowhere near the best of all time. He's probably not top 10. And honestly, I'd have an argument. Lundqvist is definitely better. And I'm here for the argument that Jonathan Quick's peak is better for like one player in a game 7. I think I'd rather have Quick at his peak than I'd rather have Price at his. And maybe that's slander. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm reacting to slander with slander, Sam. But sometimes you got to react to slander with slander.
Really?
Sometimes you got to do it.
Are you saying 2 wrongs do make a right?
I'm making 3 rights because the right way to go is left.
Oh, that's funny.
Funny. I listen. Like I said, Carey Price was great, and but he's unequivocally bad this year, and he's had more stretches of. I mean, how many stretches of great does he have against stretches of bad does he have? And we're out here talking about him in a game 7 over Brodeur. Get out of here. I'm done. People bringing up Cujo. This. I must have fallen into like a Canadian time warp.
Yeah, I'll tell you, there were a lot of. One of my favorite goaltenders was Graham Fuhr. Back in the day,
great goaltender.
Patrick Waugh was obviously great back in the day.
I mean, like Bernie Parent was amazing, and
he's a nice guy, by the way. He's a very nice guy, Bernie Parent. Oh yeah, he is a funny guy. Almost. You know what? He has that uncanny ability to be. He's so charismatic, and he's so laid back, like Marty. It's like and I've met Marty a couple times, and I've met Bernie a couple times. Very similar in personality. In my opinion. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's a French Canadian.
But it's 9:45.
8:45. All right. So.
And he's gone. Let's check out the chat. Long time Nick from Omar. Let's go Devils. And hey, if you were at the game, let me know what it was like. I know that game sucked. Oh my god, the Devils are so bad lately. It's so annoying. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. I just want them to not suck. Like, I don't ask for a lot, folks. Mike Roski says the podcast is doing way better than Devils are. They are. The Pucks and Pitchforks is doing well. The podcast, the Let's Go Devils podcast, is doing extremely well. And the Devils are trash. I want to know. I really do. I want to know, because I've seen what happens when we get Devils fans excited, what the website traffic does, what the podcast traffic does, how much you consume media when the Devils are good, and it's astounding. Every one of you can't get enough content when the team is good. When the team is bad, no duh. You don't want to consume the media to say this team sucks. Like, why would you want to spend your time when you're already spending 3 hours watching this team suck? Why would you want to spend another hour, 2 hours, 3 hours on content talking about them sucking? But obviously, me and Sam try to branch out, talk about other things, and also talk about the team. And we bring on analysts, we bring on people who can kind of talk us through these things, maybe give a positive spin on things, and be like, "Hey, there's some light at the end of the tunnel. This is why the prospects are exciting. Let's talk to prospects. Let's do things like that." But again, I've seen what happens in the off seasons when the Devils make exciting moves and the response from the fan base. And if this team could only get its act together, this fan base would be so excited. There's a lot of people around New Jersey who are looking to follow the Devils and who are looking to consume this media and are looking like this team. Jack Hughes is a player that's going to bring a lot of people into this fan base. Nico Hischier is going to bring a lot of people in this fan base. Ty Smith is going to bring a lot of people in this fan base. Mackenzie Blackwood is going to bring a lot of people in this fan base. And even players like Miles Wood is going to bring players into this fan or bring fans to this fan base. They have a likable core group. They do. But the problem is that everything around them is I don't want to say garbage. That's mean, but everything around them is not clicking. Everything around them is there's no single way to they lose in a different way every game. One game the defense is terrible. The next day the penalty kill is god awful. The next day the power play can't do anything. The next day the offense can't score. The next day the centers can't win faceoffs. The next day the goalies has a rough game. I mean, Mackenzie Blackwood looked human over the weekend. That was scary. I didn't like that. It's there's something to be said about the Devils having that losing culture and kind of teaching losing for so many years. I don't believe in that per se. I don't believe that the Devils can't get out of this because they've lost before. I don't think that that's how culture works in hockey, especially when you have a brand new coach, brand new front office. Well, not brand new, but some different pieces in the front office and a new voice at the top. When all that is working for you, but when you can't put it together on the ice. And I want to do an analysis of the Dallas Stars to see, because I remember they started off really hot when they came back from their pause, and their pause was a little different because it was the beginning of the season. But they had an outbreak. They came back as soon as they could. They started off hot, and I think that they were in the tank last time I checked. Let me try to pull up their standings right now. What are they in the West? No, they're in the Central. And the Stars are in last place now. So it's clear that there's some correlation. They're behind the Red Wings. That's terrible. Well, that's because of games played and everything. But they're in last place. So there's some correlation between these COVID outbreaks, fast starts out of the outbreak, and then failing to keep up with that pace. So there's something there. I'm going to try to analyze that with the Stars and see if if there's light at the end of the tunnel for the Devils. But Sam, you're back.
I'm back. Sorry, I was socializing behind the scenes. I was talking to Neal. Yeah, I was talking to Neal. I recognized the area code, chit-chat, just making a little chit-chat, small talk. And then I forgot that I was doing a podcast, and you were just holding the fort the entire time.
I didn't stop talking, Sam, and that's never a problem for me.
All righty. Well, our next guest is a Devils writer for Inside Hockey, InsideHockey.com. His name is Neal McHale. You can find him on Twitter at NMCHALE12. Neal, you're on with Sam and Nick. How are you tonight?
Good. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing well, Neal. I was telling the audience, like you've been doing so well this season, building up the brand. You got to get the brand going on Twitter and on social media and sharing your articles. And I've seen you a lot more this season. So once I kept seeing you, I was like, I got to get this guy on the podcast. Let's talk some Devils hockey. I did want to give you that pat on the back. You've been doing really well this year.
Well, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. And you guys too. It's been, great to see the coverage. It's nice to have a team that has some excitement for it. I know the season hasn't gone the way people have expected, but that always helps when there's some excitement going into the season.
Yeah, and let's talk about that, because it seems like this COVID outbreak really it shut the door on any momentum that they had. Even though they won 2 games out of it, they've now lost. It's either 5 or 6 or 6 or 7. I've lost track, Neal, because it hurts my soul. But have you changed your expectations? Have you changed the hope for this team? And do you think that there's any turnaround possible in the future, or do you think it's time to look ahead already?
Well, I think when you look at this team, off the bat, you weren't exactly sure what they're going to be. I don't think many pundits had them, configured super high in their expectations to begin with here, because of the likes of teams that you're expecting in that division. Boston, we all expected would be a team that could continue to be, a threat. Even the fact that they had a pretty stagnant offseason. Washington was in that as well. I thought for, some time now, and they haven't looked as great as late, but, I thought the Flyers could be maybe the potential top, leaders of the division this year. You never know with Pittsburgh when you have guys like Crosby and Malkin. I guess the Islanders, too, you look at them as they're always that team. I wrote an article today about Lou Lamoriello's New York Islanders and how they just always play that system and how good they can be. And the New York Rangers figured to be competitive, too, and they might be the team that, we look at the Devils' struggles, New York Rangers, for a lot of the things that have gone on with them. And, we've had the Panarin stuff and everything that's gone on with them. But they might be the one team that you say, wow, I thought they'd be a lot better than they've looked. And then you have Buffalo, who's just having all sorts of problems there. And I don't know if anybody really, I think in their initial predictions weren't super surprised by that, although to see how far they've fallen is truly stunning. So I don't know if I looked at it and said that I'm super surprised at where the Devils are at here. You knew that it was going to be a little bit different. They brought in a lot of young players to the team that are getting some expanded roles. You look at the likes of, Michael McLeod stepping in there and Nate Bastian, even Yanni Kuokkanen stepping into a more regular role. I think they're trying to do the same thing with McHale Maltsev. And, you have other new players that come in, with Igor Sharangovich, another young player, but Andreas Janssen, they're giving a lot of responsibility to, and he's brand new to the system. And then on top of that, you have a brand new head coach there and a whole new system that comes into play with that. So it all, I think, right now, I think they're where, the consistency has to be better, especially in their own end. But I don't know if I'm really that surprised about where they are right now.
Yeah. So you talked about giving young players more opportunities. And people were not happy when the lines came out today and they saw that Jack Hughes, the main problem was who Jack Hughes is paired with. He's paired with Yanni Kuokkanen and Igor Sharangovich, two players that have struggled. They've been healthy scratched for, in and out of the lineup as of late. They take Janssen and Bratt off his line and replace him with Kuokkanen and Sharangovich. I'm not sure why, but the main point of my question for you, Neal, is what can the Devils do to unlock Jack Hughes? Everything he's done outside of a heater section of Janssen, he's done by himself. So what can the Devils do to get wingers that can play to his level?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. And I think you look at it a little bit, too, in that the fact that they're trying to elevate the status of trying to get Palmieri going, too. He hasn't had maybe the hottest start that we're used to seeing with Palmieri. Usually he's a player that starts the season pretty hot for them, too. So they're trying to get him going there. And Pavel Zacha, obviously, shifting him from center to wing is complicated things as well. He's going to play center, at least it looks that way. We don't have a full update. Lindy Ruff was very careful in choosing his words the last 2 days in terms of what the status is of Nico Hischier, as he is still officially being evaluated here. So we'll wait to see more on that there. But, with Jack Hughes right now, I mean, I know they wanted to keep him with Palmieri as much as they could there, but I think that for Lindy Ruff, he's a line shuffler. This is what he does. And if he thinks that, maybe he can get a bit of a spark by trying some completely new players with the Devils, that might be what his way to go with it is, too. And you also have to look at the fact that, Gusev is a player who I think they initially came this season thinking that Hughes would spend some time with, and he's been a little bit snake bitten this season. I think they've had some time on the power play together, and it hasn't gone exactly the way that they expected, despite the fact that the Devils' power play has been pretty good this year. So I don't know what they can do right now to lift Jack Hughes. But Lindy said it before too. Jack has, in certain situations, has to be better. I mean, his face-off paralysis hasn't been as great this season as I think Lindy had hoped for. And there was key situations where he had to turn over to other lines. I mean, there were situations where he was turning the Bastian, Wood, and McLeod line out for key face-offs. Not necessarily because he was looking for the fourth line to go out there in the big situations. He would probably prefer to get some offensive looks for Jack Hughes, but because he needs to trust somebody to win the faceoffs there. So some of it's on Jack Hughes as well, that he needs, you look at this New Jersey Devils team in the dot and their numbers in the neutral zone and the defensive zone, especially given in their own zone how many draws they've taken, which is close to the bottom of the league. They have to be better there too. And I know that starts with Hughes a bit, but Lindy Ruff's the kind of coach that I think that throws a lot of stuff out of there. I don't know if the lines that you saw today are going to be the same lines that you see tomorrow, assuming they have some kind of morning skate before they take the ice against the Rangers.
Yeah, absolutely. I have trouble believing that Lindy Ruff, who's been in this league for 35, 40 years, thinks that Yanni Koken and Igor Sharangovich are the way to get the best out of Hughes, but maybe he wanted to see something, maybe he wanted to look, and maybe he liked what he saw in practice. It's hard to tell because, a lot of people aren't allowed at practice, so it's strange. I don't know what the cause of it is, but I don't know. He's trying something clearly, and I'm just sick of seeing Hughes try to be Superman because I don't think he's there yet. He's not Connor McDavid. There's not many players that can finish a play all by himself against three guys. And I've seen Hughes do that, and he usually makes a smart play, like he dumps it in or he throws it on goal just to kind of get it deeper into the zone. But still, like, he needs help. So I just think that's clear. So you brought up Paul Murray and how he's had his struggles this season. It's getting to the point. So when you look at the trade deadline this year, it's different because the trade deadline comes on April 12th. And the season ends about 4 weeks later. So teams aren't getting that value out of players that they get at the deadline that they've gotten in years past. But obviously, there are teams like the Devils who can make a decision now. Do you want to continue forward, trying to win games, or do you start selling? Neal, if you are the Devils, if you're Tom Fitzgerald and you're looking at this team and this roster, and you got to take a couple things into account. Is winning important to Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier and Mackenzie Blackwood for confidence level next year? Is playing with top talent going to get them more exposure and better down the line than getting draft picks for the future? So when you look at all those factors, Neal, do you think the Devils should make a decision and start selling pieces now, or do you think they should wait?
Yeah, I think they're probably far away from making, as far can be right now in terms of making those decisions. And, the big reason for that is, let's just start with the number one thing is there's still a lot of uncertainty in terms of what the draft is going to look like. Are we even going to have a draft in the traditional sense? Well, we probably won't be having it in the real traditional sense in terms of fans being there and families gathering and so on. But, are we going to have the draft maybe delayed? Because, when you look at the body of work that some of these leagues are going to be set in, I don't think I'd have to check my email to see if the Ontario Hockey League has sent anything in the last few days, but I don't believe they have. We're going to be looking at the Ontario Hockey League having a possibly sub 30 game season. The Quebec League's been off and on this season. That's only a short amount of body work, and in some cases, you have some leagues in Europe that are shutting down as well. So that alone it makes some GMs wary because they don't know what they're doing with these picks and how people want to return on their investment as soon as possible. Obviously, you don't expect picks after maybe the first or second round to really, come into play that soon. But, it's a consideration when you're a general manager there. And so I think for that reason, as it relates to the draft, you want to wait. But also the fact that you want to wait is that, there's still time with this Devils team if they can catch a little bit of lightning. Things are still, pretty close. You look at it right now, I think they're 3 points behind the Rangers, and there's a bit of a gap after that. But, things can open up. They have a few games in hand on some of the teams that are looking down at them right now. And the other thing is, too, is nobody knows what direction the world's going to go in right now. So if there are contenders in the Central Division, their own division, the East and the West, they might be sitting here and saying, well, we need help now. And we're not going to sit here and wait for a quarantine period if, not everybody's going to trade with the Ottawa Senators, especially if the Canadian teams have the same concerns, and they want to trade with them too. So I think the Devils, the longer they wait, the more they can hold, the opportunity of getting a better return there. There's not, if you look at the standings right now, and I'm not just talking about the East, I'm talking about all the United States-based teams. I mean, Dallas has had a hard time, but that division is super close, really in terms of, how that fourth spot could play. I know Chicago could be getting a bit of a stranglehold on it too. But if you look in the East, the Devils and the Sabres are the bottom dwellers, but they're still within range. The Ducks have had some, I know they had some really tough games against Arizona last week. That could be a team that could be selling, but the sellers might be really late in declaring, or the buyers might be really late in declaring, as well as the sellers. So it might be really interesting to see when the Devils decide to pull the trigger on that. But I don't think it's necessarily around the corner. I think they're going to at least wait and see how this process goes. And I also think with some of the young players there, the longer that they can have them around some of these veteran players, at least this management staff and this coaching staff believes that's important. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, I think, and you brought up a really good point about the draft concerns, because I think that has a lot to do with just uncertainty in general around value and around what teams are looking for. I mean, you looked at the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade. I'm sure it would have made a lot of sense for Columbus to just go after picks and try to build towards the future. And they got some players and some pieces that they can survive without a Pierre-Luc Dubois, but they went for a straight, a Patrick Laine, Jack Roslovic trade instead. And I know that they're trying to compete, and that had some of it, but I bet you part of it had to do with, why am I going to trade for a first-round pick that I'm not going to see for 2 years? So I think that makes a lot of sense, that bringing up the draft and kind of the uncertainty around that and how that impacts every decision that these GMs are making. But perhaps, Neal, I do want to.
I just wanted to say that maybe the biggest indictment of these draft concerns is you look at Detroit right now, who's, obviously, we all expected they'd have a tough season, and Owen Power, who basically plays in their backyard at Michigan right now. And you have a GM and Steve Yzerman that comes out and says he thinks the draft should be moved down. That all alone, and you would suspect that the Red Wings, more so than any other team in the NHL, is able to have eyes that are on this player because they're in the area. I know there's a lot of restrictions in Michigan right now to who can even attend some of the games there. And when you have Steve Yzerman come back and say, I think we should postpone the draft, I think that speaks volumes in terms of where they may go with this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And maybe he looked at Owen Power and he didn't like what he saw. He was like, well, I spent all my time on this guy. I need more time. But one last question, Neal. There's a big fight on Twitter, and it's a very simple question. Do face-offs matter? Does it matter? Does it impact the game at all?
Well, I guess it depends on who you ask. If you're asking Lindy Ruff, I think you would say they do matter, and I think they matter too. If you, in terms of having the puck possession with it, so it's really interesting you asked this question when, because I spoke about before, the Devils' defensive zone is and neutral zone face-off draws are among the actually they are last in the league. But if you look at the amount of draws they've taken in both those zones, it's not particularly high. And then I looked at the Islanders the other day, who have taken middle of the pack draws in the defensive zone, and yet they've they're among the top in terms of win percentage. So it's always nice to start with the puck. It's always nice to have a little bit of control on your own end. I do think draws matter. I do think that's a big reason and why Jack Hughes at times has seen his time limited to some of the players like the third and fourth line, because there's an inability to win draws when you need it. So yes, I would say face-offs do matter in that respect, because you do want to start with this, especially when you're a fast attacking team, like the Devils, who want to come into the zone with speed and want to set up opportunities in that front. And and also if you saw last night the carelessness in their own zone in terms of the amount of turnovers with the puck there. If you can start with the puck, that's your first best step in that. Of course, you need to be able to contain it too. And I think one of the biggest things the Devils are going to have to address is the carelessness in their own zone. But yeah, I mean, I would say that I would certainly go with the assertion that they do matter. But you have to have the right personnel out there too. I mean, if you're winning a draw out there and you don't have anyone out there, has the ability to fire a danger, a high danger shot on net. I mean, you're going to be dealing with the same kind of problems regardless of what your face-off win percentage is in your zone or the opposition's.
So, Neal, this is the point where I let you plug what you got coming up. You got a big article coming up. What do you already have on the website? What's something you're excited about?
Sure. Well, this season's been interesting. I've been doing a lot of coverage of the Devils. I used to do a lot of league stuff there, but between managing a couple jobs and then also doing the writing on here, I really wanted to narrow my focus. I will be covering the Devils throughout the season this year, so we'll see where things go up this season. Nothing big in the plans today. I had an interesting piece up this morning about Lou Lamoriello, New York Islanders. It's a team that certainly looks like they're on a potential tough, trajectory at the moment, and maybe they'll go for an interesting option. I actually threw in a little tidbit there about maybe Lou Lamoriello, who in his tenure with New Jersey always had a few surprises. Adding Brendan Shanahan late in the season, maybe he could do it with a clear name and a guy like Ilya Kovalchuk. So. All that kind of stuff, but covering the Devils this season and a few other interesting storylines as we go along. So anybody who wants to follow me, though, I'm on Twitter. They can follow me at McHale12. And, I think my DMs are open there. If they have any questions or suggestions, I'm always open to them there. I love interacting with the fans, whether they're Devils fans or fans of hockey, whatever they might be.
Neal, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate you coming on. Make sure you check out his stuff and McHale12 and check out Inside Hockey. But Neal, thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks so much, guys. Anytime you ever need anything, just shoot me an email. I'm more than happy to accommodate.
Oh yeah, we'll absolutely have you on again.
Thanks, Neal. That is Neal McHale of Inside Hockey.
Are you losing your voice from all that talking you did?
Stop it, Nick. Stop it. I had a rough day.
I am nothing if I'm not mean. All my Twitter followers know that I'm nothing if I'm not mean.
But I do need to invite Neal out to Taj Lounge 973 maybe one day when this thing starts to subside.
Yeah, once we get the vaccinations out and everything, we got to invite Corey. We got to invite Bryce. Might be a little bit busy, but I bet you we get Corey Masek out there. I bet you we get Chris Ryan out there. I bet you we get Dan Rice out there. I bet you we get
I said hello to Erica yesterday. Do you know how I did that with all that distancing?
Socially distanced? I don't know how.
Yeah. I saw her. I was in section 15. I saw Erica and Bryce. There's a plexiglass between them. And I saw her. She was on her phone. And I stood up. It was quiet other than the artificial noise. And I'm like, Erica! Everybody could hear me. She turns around, looks at me, and waves. It's very nice. It's the only way to communicate nowadays.
Sam, she had no idea who you were. She thought you were just some crazy fan that she had security watching you.
Actually, I actually DM'd her, say, hey, it was us. She's like, oh, okay. So it's all good. It's all good.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good. That's good. But I've been playing around with my Instagram because I just got an Instagram, Sam, and I followed Erica, and she's always you talk about her outfits, and I think that she's cognizant of that because I think she always posts a selfie and with the outfit for each game, and I'm like, let's see how this outfit does for the Devils this time. I think she needs a wardrobe upgrade because the Devils have been losing. Nothing wrong with her wardrobe. I just think
there's nothing wrong with her wardrobe.
We just need the Devils to win.
Watch. Yeah,
but maybe we need to invest. Maybe we'll take some of the money out of the plane money, Sam, and we'll buy a nice.
I'll tell you what. This is what we need to do. We got to take our top 3 analytics people that we've had on this podcast and take the data that we have of her wardrobe and have them tell us
We'll just
what's the
cross-section
winning
it.
style. Yeah.
Anyway,
all right. What time
this is
now?
it's 9:12. So if you want to start the process, I know you have to make multiple calls and test things out. I will talk to Facebook Live, and I'll talk to Twitter Live, and I'll talk to YouTube Live, and I'll talk to Live because we're live. We're live, guys. Yeah. There's a lot. Oh, see, now I got to catch up to Facebook Live because I wasn't looking during the interview. But let's see, Mike Rossi. But when you have a team that actually can compete, the Devils have the talent to have more points. We were talking about the Red Wings and how the Red Wings have more points than the Devils. The Red Wings also have 7 games on the Devils. So yes, technically they're ahead of us in the standings, but that's like an impossible. They had 7 games to get 1 more point. So the Red Wings are not better than the Devils. The Red Wings are a terrible, terrible, terrible team. Same reason why Dallas is below them in the standings and technically in last place. That Central Division, the bottom of that Central Division is not great. When you look at like how bad the Sabres have been, and you look at the bottom of the East Division, like the Sabres and the Devils are the 2 teams that are kind of at the bottom right now for a reason. But look at it. Like, it's been bad. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you folks. But the Penguins have 3 games at hand, and they have 9 more points. So, I mean, that's a significant number. But the Devils go on a run. If they go on a 3-game winning streak, they're only 3 points back. That's a lot to ask from this team. But Blackwood is the kind of player that can do that. He can jump in, and he could steal 3 games in a row. Once you get Nico Hischier back, which I get it. I get what they're doing with the injury, with the I get what they're doing with not saying it and yada, yada, yada. But can you give us something on Nico? You told me that it wasn't as bad as you thought. He got hit in the shield, and that's good news. Great. What do you mean he's still being evaluated? What do you mean that you don't know when he's coming back? What do you mean he's still not practicing? He just got named captain. Everything's going wrong for this team. The fan base is desperate for something. And then you can't even give us an update of what's going on with our captain. I don't, that's not how I would handle it. It's very similar to what we saw last season, which makes it seem like it's a holdover of the Shero regime, which I love Tom Fitzgerald as a GM. There are very weird intricacies that he's holding over that he's learned from Ray Shero. And that was going to happen. He's worked under Shero for years. He's been with him in Pittsburgh. He came over with him in New Jersey. He looks up to him. And there's a lot of things that Shero did that were good, but there are a lot of things that I heard about the inner workings of that Shero just needed to go. So I don't know if we should continue those. And I think that one of them is just being completely informationless when it comes to injuries. I don't think it's hurting your... Like in football all the time, they talk about how you don't give information on injuries because it gives you an advantage. I don't think that's actually true. Not in hockey at least. In football, you're planning for a team for an entire week. So if you have, say it's the Pittsburgh Steelers and you're hiding information on Ben Roethlisberger and you have to prepare for Roethlisberger and Rudolph, I mean, the drop-off is so significant that how much are you really going to prepare for Rudolph? It's the same thing with the Devils. The drop-off from Nico Hischier on a line to Yanni Kuokkanen or Nick Merkley that's going to come in for him, it's not going to change your preparation. Also, you have a day to prepare now. Like, there's no time for practice. There's no time to get these things in and to worry about your opponent. You got to worry about yourself in hockey. You got to worry about what you're doing right and wrong. And the game's so fast, it doesn't matter anyway. So just say, hey, he's dealing with a broken nose. He's got an orbital fracture. He's got a concussion. He's got, these things like, and if you don't know, that tells me that you're looking at a concussion, and it might be a bad one. But I don't know that because I'm just guessing. I'm guessing based on how you're dealing with information. So, not my favorite. Wish the Devils would do better with that, especially with how frustrating the play has been. It's one thing to have everybody riding high, and I guess you should be consistent. So this, whatever. But I think that the Devils just need to give more information. I do. I think that they're still close to the vest, and everybody knows that's how Lou's done things. Lou does not let information leak, and if you leak information, you get fired. Period. End of story. But as you can see in today's game, you saw with the Arizona Coyotes that Katie Strang report from the Athletic that was amazing. The Coyotes tried to do that where they're like, if you release information, you're fired, and don't think that's how things work anymore. I don't think that you can hold people to the fire like that when we're in such an informational business. So, and I know for a fact that the Devils let information leak sometimes. They do. They like to get values on players. They like to get information on what somebody might be worth and how that worth might work out and who might be interested. And they want to get people to call. And they want to get people to, see what the worth is like. And that all works with information being come out. But again, I think we all just want Hischier back. I think that once he comes back, it's going to change a couple things. I think there's some chemistry issues that need to get worked out, and I think that some practice time is all they really need. I think if you get 2 good practices with this team, I think you're fine. Zajac is a mess. I don't know what to really do about him. It's not my job to figure it out. Good for me, but when I write about Zajac, I've been thinking about writing about Zajac for a couple of days, and I was like, I don't know what to say. He's bad? Okay, cool. We've seen him be bad before and then turn it around and then be really good at the end of the season. Is that in him this year? I don't know. This year is so weird. It's so hard to project. There's so many games in such a little amount of time. The lineup's going to keep changing. I still think that Lindy Ruff has 15 to 20 NHL level forwards on this team. Maybe 20 is a lot. 15 to 17 NHL level forwards on this team. Jesper Boquist is an NHL level forward that can't get in this lineup because of his inconsistency. Makes other players look better with him. Nick Merkley can't get into this lineup. Every time he's in this lineup, he looks good because McHale Maltsev is just flat out disgusting on the ice. Nikita Gusev's probably going to be held out of the lineup. He's a $4 million player, going to be held out of the lineup because he is not playing up to snuff. He's just not playing where we need him to play. But last year he actually sat with Patrick Elias. He got a good look at the game. Maybe he can, work with the coaches and anything. But I believe that we're all set. I think we got Michael and Vinny on the line, but Sam has to set it all up for me. So, Vinny, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So Vinny can hear me. Does that mean that Michael? I'm gonna do my best with this name. So please just bear with me. But we have Michael Vukojevic. Did I even get it close?
Yeah, pretty close. It's Vukojevic.
McCoyvich. What? Okay, so Vukojevic. I could that is easier than the way I said it. But Michael Vukojevic, defenseman for the Binghamton Devils. Michael, thanks so much for coming on. How you doing tonight?
Great, I'm doing well. Just hanging out on an off day. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming on, and we're excited to talk to you. You're actually, we've had pretty much everyone in the purview. People who work for the Devils, people in the front office, people in the media, obviously. We've had former players, we have analysts, but you're the first one who's an active player that we've had on the podcast, and it's a very exciting day for us. So I want to thank you for coming on. Thank you. Thank Vinny for having me on. But I want to jump right in, and I want to ask. I wanted you to kind of talk us through the process because it's still new to you. It's still, you just signed. You got drafted 2 years ago. So what was that feeling when you heard your name and the Devils called your name in that 2019 draft? Can you kind of like give us an inside look of how does a player feel on a day like that?
You know what? It was awesome. It's probably one of the best days of my life. And when I heard my name picked by the Devils, it was like the world off my shoulders. And being there with my family and my parents, brother and sister, was really awesome, really special to be able to share that with them. It was a big moment in my early hockey career, and to have them there and their support was awesome. They'll never forget.
Hey, Michael, this is Vinny. I just wanted to, first of all, thank you personally for coming on the show. It's real exciting for us to have you. You talked about, the day you were drafted. You're coming from the Kitchener Rangers, and you had a real nice career over there. And I noticed later on in your Kitchener career that you had an A on your sweater. And I was wondering if, you're off into pro hockey now and you're just a rookie, but as the years go on, do you expect to take on a leadership role as you go on to your pro hockey career?
You know what? Everywhere I go, I try and be the same person no matter who I'm with or who I'm around. So, getting a letter in Kitchener was an honor in such a prestigious organization, but it wasn't something that, I went out of my way to try and accomplish. It was just, I think it kind of fell into my lap, just being who I am and not changing who I am or trying to be something fake or fabricated, and just being myself. And, the coaching staff in Kitchener believed I could wear that letter with some pride, and, I was lucky enough to wear it. So, just moving forward here in Bingo is just continue to be the same person I am, whether that's a letter or not. I'm not going to change who I am and how I operate and the way I feel that I lead and the way I carry myself. So I think it's just, like a bonus along the way.
So, Michael, you talk about, changing your style, changing how you play, and changing your mindset and things like that. Things kind of changed on you this season because, per the rules of how it works with age and eligibility and all that, you weren't supposed to be allowed to play for the Binghamton Devils. But obviously, the OHL has some, they're still trying to get back up with the COVID protocols and everything like that. And now you're in Binghamton. And you're playing incredibly well. You're probably the biggest surprise on that team so far this season because you're 19, you're a defenseman. Usually it takes an extra minute or two to really see the best out of a defenseman, a young defenseman. But you came into a pro league, you got 5 points in 6 games. Kind of like, I guess this is a silly question, but how? Like, how have you come in at such a young age and just been able to give something to this team so quickly?
Yeah, it's been a crazy year and a whirlwind of things going on with COVID and protocols and stuff like that. And then when the OHL wasn't up and running and they changed the rules to allow younger drafted players to allow them to play, it was a unique opportunity and a great opportunity. So to be able to come here and get some games and play in the pro life and play pro hockey was something you didn't expect to happen, but since it happened, it's very fortunate, and I'm very happy to be here. And just coming into the year, whether it was I originally obviously thought I was going to be in junior, just ready to go make some strides and kind of put my name out there and kind of make a name for myself and be the player that I always knew I could be and be the best player that I could be and believe in yourself. And I think that's what I've done, is just really trust my abilities and kind of tell myself, you're here for a reason. What is that reason? And go make the most of it. And I think that's a big strength that I have, is just believing in myself. And, I'm here for a reason and I'm going to make the most of it.
You're playing with a very interesting defensive unit. And it kind of like moves around from night to night based on the taxi squad and things like that. But, you got a second-round pick in Kevin Ball, a second-round pick in Otyok, from the same year as you were drafted. You got a third-round pick. You got Riley Walsh, who's a third-round pick who played very well at Harvard. It's a very young but obviously incredibly talented defense. Just playing with a lot of players who are around your age and with, you all have different skill sets, obviously, but you're all in that same window of progression where you're on the up and up. There's an incredible amount of upside with everybody. Does that help everyone? Does that help the unit play better, do you think?
100%. With the young decor that we have, we're all experiencing this together, and we can kind of bounce ideas off each other. And it works well when you're not the only one going through, and there's other guys around you in the room that are doing the same thing at a young age. So it's been great to go through with them and experience our first year as pro together. But we're young, but we also have a lot of vets on our team, and they've really helped and kind of laid the lines and kind of how to do things, and really giving some great advice that it's helped me and it's helped other guys as well. So we're a young team, but we got some veterans that have been through it, guys that are 6-7 years in the league, so they've helped a lot and just made the transition so easy and so much more smoother. And it didn't feel like almost claustrophobic and so much worry, and just made it easier. And let's go out and play some hockey.
Michael, we've noticed throughout the years that you're pretty good defensively. That's something that has been a strength of yours. But so far this season in Binghamton, you have a goal, you have 4 assists, 5 points in 6 games. It's not bad. You're the 3rd leading scorer on Binghamton right now. I was curious how you feel about your offensive game, how it's developing, and where you think you're going to be able to take it moving forward.
You know what? Every game, I'm just trying to be the best player that I can be and bring what the team needs to get a win. So, I'm just not trying to lead the rush. I'm not trying to score highlight reel goals. I'm just trying to make simple plays, and I think it's worked out in our favor. And, when they're playing in pro, you got some good players around you, and you give them the puck and they score some goals. So it's worked in my advantage and worked in my favor. So it's been great. And, just like I said, playing my game, that's the biggest thing for me, is not trying to be something or someone that I'm not. If you're yourself, you'll find success in whatever that may be.
Michael, and this will be the last question for me. I'm sure Vinny has another question after me, but I'm curious. You've Binghamton, you're getting a couple days off after kind of a rough stretch, but Binghamton has seen this before. I don't know how much you saw what you saw from their season last year, but they had a rough stretch at the beginning. They went on a massive run. They put themselves in a playoff spot. It was incredibly exciting. But, obviously Mark Dennehy, your coach, has been here before. He's seen this team struggle, and he knows what it takes to get them back on the road to winning. What have you seen from him this week during practices, or maybe just in conversations with him and stuff like that? What has he said to kind of, change the mindset and get you back into the winning, in the winner circle?
Yeah, he's been great. He's really been great as a young player, learning the ways and learning the waters. And, he's helped a lot. And his positivity is something that's really beneficial for the team. And, with our February wasn't that great, but what he told us was it's a new month and it's a new slate. We can, take the progress that we've made since the start of the season and build off it and get better every day. And that's the thing that we try to do is, every day, what are we going to do today? How are we going to get better today so it can pay off in a week, or on the weekends games in 4 days? How are we going to get better today that it'll pay off? And, he's really worked on trying to drive that home, and I think it's starting to stick. And, we're getting a lot better in practices, and we're competing, and we're working hard, and we're doing the right things to be prepared in the long run. And I think it's going to pay off soon here.
So, Michael, Nick brought up the variety of defensemen on the team. You have yourself. Riley Walsh is obviously very good offensively. Kevin Ball is like a bigger guy who likes to play defense. Is there anyone on the team or in the Devils organization that you see as a good fit to be your partner, to help mold you into the best player you can be? Or are you the type of guy who is just okay with whoever you're paired up with and good to go there?
I think that's what it is. It's, whoever I'm going to play with, I'm going to play my game and try and complement their game, and we can work together and complement each other and get success and play well and do the right things and keep the puck out of our net and put the puck in their net. So, I'm not going to try and pick and choose preferable partners because, like you said, they're all great hockey players and we're all here for a reason. So, whoever you're playing with, you got to make it work and, kind of learn their game and their tendencies and work off that and build off that, and, good things will happen. So yeah, like I've played with a couple guys this year, and I love playing with all of them. They're all great hockey players. Even some of the older guys like Whitey and Jakey, and they've been great and great mentors to me, and helped a lot along the way so far. So I'm looking forward to continuing that. And, whoever I'm playing with, I'm gonna try and play my best and help the team win.
Michael, I really want to thank you for coming on, but I got to compliment you real quick before I let you go, because for a 19-year-old, these interviews can be interesting, but you did two things that I'm sure that the Devils are going to love. You gave us a bunch of information, so I'm going to leave away from this happy. I think that I got plenty. Sometimes I see Connor McDavid talking. I'm like, I don't know what he said. He didn't answer the question, but you answered all the questions great. You gave me lots of great information. You gave the audience and the Devils fans lots of great information, but at the same time, you didn't give any headlines for the aggregators. So you're doing a great job, and I'm really excited about that. I'm excited to see what you do with Binghamton this year. I'm excited for you to progress, turn into the New Jersey Devils defenseman. And hey, if you can keep this 5 points every 6 games, keep that up. I mean, maybe we'll see you in New Jersey sooner rather than later. But Michael, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you coming on, talking to us and the Devils fans.
Guys, thanks again for having me. It was fun to talk and talk some hockey.
Oh, we gotta love talking hockey. Talking hockey is great. And if you're not subscribed to AHL.TV in New Jersey, or if you're not watching the Binghamton Devils down in Binghamton, the call letters are escaping me. But there's plenty of ways to watch every Binghamton Devils game this year. It's not expensive. Rob Lapola's on the call. We love Rob, and so it's great to talk to Michael. But Sam's back.
I'm back. Great interview, guys. Great interview.
Thank you. Vinny's still here?
Vinny, you're still here, right?
Yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed that. I've interviewed Mike McKenzie twice, his former now GM in Kitchener, and he's always had nice things to say, real nice to me and us at Pucks and Pitchforks. So, Vukojevic has kind of become somewhat of a favorite player of mine just based on these interactions. So I'm rooting for him.
Yeah,
I'm rooting for him too.
And honestly, he's looked so good. And I'm not saying that just because he's been on here. I think he's just looked so good. And it's surprising because I thought Otyok was going to be the guy who's going to come out here and look really good. And when it came to points, I thought Riley Walsh was going to be the guy to pick up all those points. But we get you. I'm Michael. I'm terrible at this name. Hold on, I will get this. Vukojevic is he's been scoring the points and he's been playing well defensively. Binghamton is just they've fallen in a rut, and this schedule doesn't help. But you know what they're getting that the Devils aren't getting, the New Jersey Devils, is they get practice time. And he said that they look better in practice. And the Devils in the past have been honest with that. They've always been like, we didn't look good in practice. We got to do better. And when him telling us that they're going to look better in practice makes me excited. So I do have a game. And this game is exciting. You know why this game is exciting, Sam? It's really exciting for you, Sam. Want to know why?
Why is that?
There's 2 reasons. First of all, I'm straight stealing from 2 old friends of the podcast because I thought this would be fun. But there's no winner here tonight. We're just going to play a game. It's just game for entertainment's sake. So you don't have to worry about losing to Vinny again. So that's good.
Wait a second. I play to win. I play to win.
You play to lose most of the time.
Yeah,
and
pretty much.
On top of it, I can also participate in the game with you guys. So you can kind of get a little jump into the brain of Nick Villano. But we're going to play overrated, underrated, least favorite, and least favorite, which is obviously a game from the Puck Soup podcast. We've had Ryan Lambert on. We've had Greg Wyshynski on. Also, Sean McAdoo is on the podcast. They've perfected it, but I thought it would be a lot of fun if we just took that game and just made it overrated, underrated, favorite, least favorite, and we're going to go with Devils legends. Legends. So, I don't want to hear any of these. Well, I don't know. Whatever you think is a legend is a legend. So we'll start. We'll start with Sam. Sam, don't piss anybody off. But who do you think was overrated in the spectrum of Devils legend?
A Devils legend that was overrated. That's a hard one to ask.
I know. I ask hard questions that are mean.
Is Corey Schneider considered a Devils legend?
Sure.
I would say Corey Schneider.
You got to explain why, or this is a boring game.
Oh. Well, his numbers were good, but I understand we were rebuilding, but how many playoff appearances? Barely any.
Yeah.
The New Jersey Devils.
He had one, and he didn't even get us there.
Yeah.
He played well in the playoffs, but he didn't get us there. All right, Vinny, who's your overrated Devils legend?
Am I allowed to call Ilya Kovalchuk overrated?
Of course.
Because that guy, I'm about to get real mean. That guy was an offensive guru. There's no doubt about it. Anybody who argues it, they need to watch some hockey. But, a lot of his points came on the power play. He had that rifle of a one-timer shot, and I don't want to call it the office because, like we see Ovechkin score from there all the time, but he scored a lot of goals from there. I mean, he scored, I'm looking at his stats, 2, that was with the half season, 9, 10. So, he's got anywhere from 10 to 15 power play goals a season. So, about half his goals total. A lot of his points came on the power play. But the thing that's just absolutely disgusting about Ilya Kovalchuk, people like to rip on plus minus. I do too. I'm not a big plus minus guy. But when you're minus 146 in your career, that is ridiculous. That is part of that plus minus that means something. If you're minus 3 on the night because you had a rough night and they scored an empty netter while you were trying to tie it, that's one thing. But to be minus 146 for a career when you have over 800 points, that just tells me everything I need to know about the way you play the game. So Ilya Kovalchuk, overrated.
Interesting. I've always Sam, don't get mad at me, but I've always found John McHale overrated. I think he had a lot of points. He had a good run in the for that. But I mean, every good Devils team he was on, he wasn't near that level, except for that 93-94 team. That 93-94 team was really good, but he wasn't that good on that 88 team that went to the conference finals. He only had 39 points when he had 87 the next year when they didn't do anything. And, he was playing in that late 80s, early 90s period where just points were just aggregated to all heavens. And I think we overrated him because he had that points record for so long before Elias broke it. And I think, he was top 10 in Hart Trophy voting once, despite being, a 70 to 80 point scorer for a couple years.
Oh, I think he was an overrated coach.
Well, he lasted, 14 games?
I don't know.
It wasn't great. All right, Sam, who's your underrated New Jersey Devils legend?
Underrated. I would have to say Sergei Brylin. Guy you could put him anywhere in the lineup. He did all the dirty work. He was undersized, but he always had a presence. Maybe not on the stat sheet, but a winning presence. Won 3 cups with the Devils. You hear the stories of him growing up in Soviet Union, Russia, and having to reuse his hockey tape because they couldn't afford or didn't have any supply of hockey tape playing. Coming to this country, playing in the AHL, and then eventually with the New Jersey Devils, and part of those 3 cups. People don't give him a lot of credit because he would sometimes show up on the second line, mainly on the third line, penalty kill, or fill in wherever. And I always thought he was a great player.
All right, Vinny, who would you go with?
I'm torn between 2. I love both of these players so much. So if you don't take the guy I'm going to pass on, if you could give me like 10 seconds to mention him. But
Okay.
I'm actually going with Ken Danico. Because
Okay.
Ken Danico, he has his number retired. He's also the only player that has his number retired. It's not like obviously Elias so far, but he has a little way to go yet. That isn't in the Hall of Fame. He's the only player that, is considered on that top 5 greatest Devils of all time that isn't in the Hall of Fame, but he was a defensive defenseman. He didn't rack up, the gaudy statistics. He didn't have, 1,000 points. He's not Niedermeyer. He wasn't Stevens, but he was just so good defensively. And I truly believe that the Devils don't have nearly the success that they once had without a guy like Danico. The Devils could use a guy like Danico on their current roster so bad. And I just don't think he gets quite the appreciation, even though he's the color analyst and he's basically the face of the Devils in terms of the off-the-ice stuff. I still don't think people appreciate, with all that in mind, about what he is off the ice to the Devils, I still don't think people appreciate how good he actually was.
I got 2 people in mind. Well, wait, who is your other person before I go?
It might be the guy you're thinking of. It's Travis Zajac. And the reason I have
Okay,
Travis
that's not the
Zajac-
guy I'm thinking of. Wait, so you go real quick.
Okay, so Zajac, I was ripping on Kovalchuk plus minus, even though like we said, plus minus isn't that big of a deal. But he's minus 23 in his career, and that's because since the Devils became a bad team in the 2016-2017-ish era, his plus minuses go -8, -8, -25, -12, and then he's -4 this season. Up to that point, though, in his career, he's a plus player, plus 34. He's, 3rd on the Devils' all-time leading scorer list? So, and that's a proud team. They've been bad lately, but overall, in the history of the team, they were pretty good for a 25-year run. So, and Zajac was a big part of that. So he's my honorable mention in terms of underrated players for sure.
Sam, I need your guidance on this. Do you think that Brian Rafalski is properly rated?
I think he's overrated.
Okay. So I'm going to go with Paul Martin then. Paul Martin was a really good defenseman for this Devils team. He obviously he started the year after they won the 2003 Cup. So he doesn't have a Stanley Cup ring, but he really was so good for this team for so many years. All his advanced statistics, which weren't being looked at in 2004, 2005, 2006, he was here for 6 years. And for those 6 years, he was one of the better defensemen, and he wasn't getting the play. But he played in front of Brodeur. He filled the roles. I mean, you got to remember when he came here, Stevens, the first year he was here was the year that Stevens got all those concussions, and Niedermeyer had to wear the C, and it was kind of a mess on the defense. And then Niedermeyer left, and Stevens retired, and then they had a lockout. So he comes in, and it's a new era of defense, and the Devils are trying to figure it all out. And I would like to, let me see if I can pull this up. Let me see who was on this defense that year. The Devils' defense that year had the likes of like Tommy Abilene, who was 41 years old that season, Ken Klee, who is a Sam favorite, but like Brian Rafalski obviously was on that team. But it was really Rafalski and Paul Martin. Like, who else was on the team on defense? Colin White was fine. He was good. I liked Colin White, but Dan McGillis is in and out of the lineup. Richard Matvichuk, Vladimir Malakov. Like these players are not good around him. Yet Paul Martin seemed to excel every time he was on the ice. And then when he left right before that 2010-11 season, and we know what happened there. The Devils fell apart defensively. So he was a big part of the post-championship Devils still being contenders, still competing for Atlantic Division titles. And I know that some people might say like that doesn't matter in the scheme of things, but I would die to compete for an East Division title right now.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if you care or it's part of it how he played after he was with the Devils too. But he had a place on those awesome Pittsburgh teams. You know, he was their second, number 2 behind Letang. He had a place on the ice with Crosby and Malkin. So I mean, he was awesome.
Did you know that Paul Martin in Minnesota was an all-state, all-American football player?
Was he really? I didn't know that.
A great athlete. Yep.
That's crazy.
Do you know what really floored me about Paul Martin?
What's that?
He's only 39 years old.
Wow.
Like today. I thought he was much older, but yeah, he was drafted in 2000. He's not 40 yet. He turns 40 on Friday. Funnily enough, but
it's amazing how David Hale was drafted in the first round and Paul Martin in the second round. And I remember it was a competition with Hale and Martin in training camp, you know, who would play defense. And, you know, when you think first rounder and second rounder, well, it turned out Paul Martin was the one.
Yeah. But Sam, who's your favorite player all time?
On the Devils?
Yeah. How do you not know this?
Well, I have to clarify. Jeez. It's got to be Brodeur. And it's not really for the accolades and numbers. He was always a calming presence in goal when things got crazy, when there was a lot of chaos. And he always stepped up. He was a fixture where I remember it's like when I first saw Brodeur in his rookie year, second game ever against the Quebec Nordiques, and I was in 8th grade at the time. And by the time he retired, I think I was 36 years old. So that's a long time to be watching Marty Brodeur and seeing how he just went about his business and happy-go-lucky, but was as serious as anyone as a competitor. And coming back after his rookie season with that whole Mateau, and coming back and winning a cup. And it's always, anytime Brodeur had a bad game, the next game was practically a shutout. And that's what I loved about him. He was so resilient in that way. And durable.
All right, Vinny. I feel like I know where you're going to go with this, but...
Well, of course you do. But let me explain myself.
Okay.
It's Parisi. Of course it's Parisi. Without him, you guys wouldn't be having me on the show right now. Little 10-year-old Vinny would have never fallen in love with hockey. And it was cool that a dude had the same name as me, but it goes so much beyond that. When I started to become an actual fan of the player and the team, he just, while he was in his prime, he embodied everything I liked in a hockey player. And I feel like he was a good, second-generation Devil. He just worked so hard. He was supremely talented. I've heard Kevin Weeks call him on, this is obviously with the Wild, but in recent memory on NHL Network during these panels, he compares him to a poor man Sidney Crosby. He's just a superstar grinder. So he has superstar talent, but the way he plays the game is like a fourth liner. He's always in front of the net. He's battling for pucks hard in the corner. I mean, I know he's having a bad year this year, but I mean, hard injuries, 36. But when he was with the Devils, man, you can argue he's top 5 draft pick they've ever had. He's he was their captain for a reason. They went to the cup with him with the team. That's significant. And throughout his career, he's an 800-point player. He's had a real good career, and just everything he was when he was with the Devils embodied what I feel like I would be if I was a hockey player. So, you just got to figure it out on the ice. You got to do whatever you got to do to score, create for your teammates, and be a good leader. And that's what he was, whether people like it or not.
Yeah. I mean, if Parise signed that contract with the Devils, we were talking about in the chat today, the things change for the Devils. We look completely different now. I don't know if we're in a better spot now or if we're in a worse spot now. But the past 7 years would have been a lot more fun. I think that's pretty much obvious. My favorite's Stevens. I love Scott Stevens. I think he's one of the better defensemen of all time. I think that the way he adjusted his game from 93-94 to 94-95 and to give himself a phenomenal second half of his career going from, he was a point-producing defenseman. He was basically like Niedermayer. He was like a slightly worse version of Niedermayer because Niedermayer was one of the best to ever play that style of defense. But it's like, I'm on this team with Niedermayer, who's just slightly better than me. Now I'm going to become a guy who knocks your head off, who will stop people, who will put the fear of who into you before you go across the ice, who, without having to do anything, just because of his reputation, you would change the way you played the game. And somebody with that kind of an impact, I have to give my love for Scott Stevens. All right, Sam. Who's your least favorite Devil of all time?
Zach Parise. No, I'm kidding. I just busted Vinny's.
And I want to clarify this. This has to be somebody you felt this way while they were on the team. So, don't say Scott Gomez because he signed with the Rangers, or don't say Ilya Kovalchuk because he retired. I want players who you did not like while they were on the Devils.
I think it's Anse Samela. I used to call him Salmonella because I couldn't understand why he was on the team.
That's fair.
He always annoyed me.
What era did he play in? I don't even remember this guy.
I believe it's early 2000.
Okay. All right, Vinny, who's your least favorite Devils player of all time?
This is so hard for me. I love every player that puts on that sweater while they're on the team. It's kind of a problem. I love that team so much that if you play for them, I love you. Like, I tweet nice things about you, even when you stink. Like, I don't know. There is one that sticks out that you guys might laugh at. There was one guy who, even I couldn't defend. He scored some goals. He made a couple nice assists when he was on the line with John Quenneville. But who's, I guess, an honorable mention himself, John Quenneville. But I couldn't Joseph Blandisi. I don't know why. I'm going to go with, they were playing the Flyers. I think they were wearing the retros, the greens. And he got, a little touch a little tap to the leg. And this dude basically did a backflip. I think that was the moment where I'm like, all right, I'm not even going to tweet nice things about this guy anymore. I can't defend that. So for me, it's Blandese for sure.
Okay, that's definitely fair. My least favorite is Michael Ryder. Only because I hype up these players, and I was so excited about Michael Ryder's and his signing, because there's a lot of players that I didn't like. I hated the Ryan Close signing, but how do you hate Ryan Close? Ryan Close seems like one of the nicest dudes, but the Michael Camilleri contract was always just didn't sit right, and there's a couple other, and obviously there's a couple of players from way earlier, but like back then when you're younger, you don't hate anybody on your team. But like, you learn you get a scab for hockey. And when we signed Michael Ryder, and it was right after Kovalchuk left, and he wore 17, and that team signed Yager. So there were some pieces there, and they could win games, but they couldn't do it consistently. And Ryder just stunk up the joint. Him and Damian Brunner, they just couldn't get it going. And, Brunner's probably on a lot of lists too, I would say, just because he was supposed to be really good, and he just never worked out. But Ryder was the guy. What'd you say, Vinny?
That whole era when it was Yager, Brunner, Yuri Talusti, all those guys who were playing in the top six, basically everyone besides Yager and Henrique, I was like annoyed with.
And Zajac was good that year too, I remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just because I wanted to even buy his nameplate because I have the Kovalchuk jersey, and I wanted to buy his nameplate and replace it. But maybe if we just change Igor Sarangovic to 16 instead of 17, maybe he'll play well, because it seems like everybody wears 17 after Kovalchuk has left. It's just fallen off the map. And I'm not that worried about Sharangovic.
That sounds like a blog on pucksandpitchforks.com.
Oh, jeez.
The Covey jinx.
The Covey curse?
Yes.
The Covey curse. Yeah. I mean, maybe. And Sharangovic is, he's Belarusian, but he's played in the KHL, so he's got some ties. Maybe. We got time, but well, there it is. That's overrated, underrated, least favorite for Devils players. That was fun. It was fun to get involved. But Vinny, I wanted to thank you for coming on. We had a lot of fun tonight. But you got a new position at Fanside. Do you want to let everybody know what you're going to be writing about?
Yeah, so I'm tentatively no longer a writer for Pucks and Pitchforks. That was much to my dismay, and I'm sure Nick's dismay too. But
I wasn't
I'm going to be
thrilled.
taking up a role at Windy City covering all Chicago sports. So that's where I'm at for now. They told me Pucks and Pitchforks is going to be a possibility once again in the future. But follow me on Twitter. I still tweet about the Devils. They're still my favorite team. I'm not going anywhere. Some of you may be excited thinking I'm going somewhere. I'm not. I'll still be right here. But it's been a fun ride.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not that worried about it. It'll be fine. It's fine. I understand how these things work. We'll see Vinny again in like a month. I'm not that worried about it. But Vinny, thanks for everything. Thanks for your contributions to everything. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on tonight. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Don't be strangers. And I still think I beat Sam because I don't even know who that guy he hated was. So I'm considering myself, even though you said there were no winners.
He's holding up the title, Sam. He's walking away. Speaking of Chicago, he's walking away like CM Punk. I don't know if half of you people even know what that means, but
oh boy. Well, thanks, Vinny. We'll keep in touch. That's Vinny Parisi. I miss him already. We'll talk off air.
yeah.
We'll talk off air. Nick, we're still doing a podcast.
We are. Yeah. I'm waiting for you to answer. You're just literally obviously.
Oh, answer.
Or I'm waiting for you to talk. I thought you were gonna, pick it up.
Yeah, I'm a little loopy right now.
Oh, all right.
After last night, being at the game, and this afternoon getting my second shot vaccination, I'm a little loopy. So don't mind me. But yeah, great interview tonight. Michael, I'm rooting for Michael.
Oh yeah, he looks real good.
You know what? He off air. You know, when to let the viewers and listeners know that I talk. You know, sometimes I chit chat a little bit. The reason why I do that is just to make sure the sound is good and make sure all the levels are perfect. But he just seems like a genuinely nice guy and was very interested in the podcast. Sometimes when you get athletes and you do interviews, or you know, it's a job. I think he loved doing it. So, and it was pretty cool to talk to him. You know, offline, off air.
And that was we had good guests tonight.
No, it's great,
Team effort.
Yeah. Also, if you don't mind, I need a plug. Tomorrow, Devils Rangers. We're going to have post game as per usual. We will not be at the new Taj Lounge 973, but we will still do the programming. Also, those that are going to the game for the first time, you may want to bring earplugs. That artificial noise, I still have I still have it
Still,
in
ringing?
my ear.
Yeah.
And I may actually write an email to my ticket rep and to the Devils about it. In all seriousness, it gave me a headache then, and I still have a headache now. So it's like I feel like there's this noise in the background, and it sucks. Yeah, it's not good. So, you know, if you want to do it because of TV, you can easily take that same sound and use a mixer board.
You don't have to put it. Although I guess it's for the players too. I guess the players that they liked it.
Yeah, I don't know. It got to the point where I had to put earmuffs on. Like I wish that. Hey, you know what? Maybe that's a little marketing thing for you, New Jersey Devils. Why don't you sell earplugs and earmuffs at $20? Because I would have bought it out of desperation.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
But I got a quick plug. You know, here's the good news about Vinny leaving for a month. I'm telling myself it's for a month because we're gonna revisit this in a month once he gets his bearings at his new site, and I'm not that worried about it, folks. Don't worry. But with Vinny leaving, that means you get more Nick Villano writing. I'm gonna have to step up my game. I'm gonna step up. I've been like Bill Simmons lately. I've been doing podcasts and controlling the website and making sure everybody else is on their P's and Q's. But I haven't been writing as much, so I'm gonna get back at it. I got 2 pieces up there doing really well. After last night's debacle, I wrote the 5 players who I think are on the trade block already, and then with everybody talking about trading Jack Eichel, I don't think trading for Jack Eichel makes sense for the Devils. So I picked 5 players in the Sabres that make more sense, and most of them help our defense. So that was a nice little piece. But that's doing well. 50,000 views in 2 days, Sam. That's where Pucks and Pitchforks is. We're losing. Wow. We're losing on the ice, but we're winning off of it. We're doing big numbers, and I want to thank all the fans for sticking around with us despite the team's struggles. We'll keep putting out engaging content. We'll keep putting out engaging interviews, and we'll put out exciting stuff for all the fans. And I'm excited to do it, win or lose.
That's great. Congratulations, Nick. Well, we'll be back tomorrow for post game. Till next time, let's go Devils.